Today's video, we're going to talk about competitor CPCs and how to roughly tell what your competitors are paying per click on their campaigns if you were wondering what you should be paying per click. Okay, so this is something that other people have generally said is impossible to tell. You do not know what people are paying per click unless you were able to look at their ad account yourself. Going to SpyFu or SEMrush or another competitive or competitor analyzation software is also not going to tell you what they're paying per click because of what most other people are saying, which is ultimately what you pay per click has a lot to do with your ad rank or quality score, if you will. The better of a job you do as an advertiser, the less Google charges you per click. So with that, people say, how the hell am I going to know or supposed to know what my competitor's paying per click if I don't know how Google's judging their campaigns? But there is a way around this, which is why, of course, made the video here, as to kind of pretty much tell what it's likely your competitor is paying. So you have a general guideline of what you need to be paying initially, after a little while, and after a long while, because it's going to change over time what they're paying as well as what you're paying or needing to pay to get in front of a quality prospect on Google Ads, okay, or Google search, if you will. So I'm going to go over what all those details are in this matrix that I've broken down for you here itself. So with that said, getting into this lesson and how to tell what your competitor is likely paying per click on their campaigns, ultimately what your competitor is paying per click, it will vary based upon how long they've been advertising as a company. And this is actually where the competitive softwares, SpyFu, SEMrush, actually come in handy and are going to tell you or be able to tell you how long they've been advertising. Also, how much they're spending. Both of which, by the way, are going to tell you or give you a guide to tell you roughly what your competitors are paying per click. Okay? Obviously, to tell you right off the bat, these softwares as well, SpyFu, SEMrush, are also going to tell you what keywords your competitor's bidding on roughly. And so with that, that gives you the seed information on what they're paying per click because you can see what they're showing up for. You can take that keyword list that they're showing up for on the software, look at Google Keyword Planner, and then identify and know what it is that you're going to be able to need to pay to, at least at a minimum level, show up next to them or above them on Google search. But that said, this also depends on heavily how much time your competitors have been advertising for and how much they spend. So you have to factor these things into the equation as to figuring out what they're paying per click. So you can't just take what they're showing up for and then looking in Google Keyword Planner and then right away all the way what they're paying per click. So for that matter, what you pay per click at the beginning and what your competitor will pay per click at the beginning, which is why I'm going through this, is going to be different than what they're going to pay 3 months in, 6 months in, 12 months in, 24 months in, and then 48 months in, assuming that they have a fairly low starting budget starting out. Now, the way that Google Ads works is you need data in order to show Google that you're a good advertiser and then for them to want to lower your cost per click. The more money you spend, quicker Google is going to figure out that you're a great advertiser, ultimately. So you could spend $100 a month on ads because you say that's all you can afford to lose right now. And that may be all you can afford to lose. But all that's going to do versus spending $1,000 a month is stretch out the amount of time it takes for Google to figure out you're a good advertiser 10 times as long. You're not going to get around having to spend with Google for them to properly evaluate your ads and landing pages by spending less money and getting around it that way. You're going to have to spend a certain minimum amount of money for them to figure this out. Usually with our clients, we're going to start out with a $3,000 a month USD ad budget at the beginning because it's a pretty good starting point for, basically any niche or any business out there, or 100 a day. Okay, so if you though stuck with what we do at our agency, which is start out with a $3,000 a month ad budget, and you were to not change that over a 48-month period, okay? What you can expect to pay per click for certain keywords that your competitor clearly advertises on that you see in SpyFu or SEMrush is going to be 1 to 3 times higher than the high end of the range on Google Keyword Planner. That's what they're going to be paying per click for those keywords. So in other words, you go to Google Keyword Planner, you type in the keywords that SpyFu or SEMrush says your competitors are showing up for. Google will give you a low end range and a high end range there of what you could pay per click to show up for those keywords or bid on those keywords. The high end of the range is not what you're going to be paying at the beginning, at least in a competitive market. It's going to be more than that. It's going to be somewhere slightly above that to 3 times above that. Okay? If you're not in a competitive market, it'll be the high end of the range, basically. Okay? So that's what your competitor's paying per click at the beginning. After 3 months at a $3K a month ad budget, they should be at the high end of the range. Not above it, just at the high end of the range, roughly. Why is it, by the way, that Google charges you more than what they say they're going to charge you? In a competitive market, you need to pay more per click just to be able to get shown. Otherwise, it's going to take forever for you to get any impressions and clicks. Because in a competitive market, there's 10, 20 advertisers that are there trying to show up at the top of Google. So therefore, there's no shortage of people to show. And they know the other guys, how their ads work, that they pretty much are a good bet for their customers or their users. And they're only going to slowly test you out otherwise. So most people are going to be forced to bid above what they say they're going to need to bid just to get shown. That is specifically the reason why it costs more than what Google says to get started, at least in a competitive market. Now, if there's 2 advertisers in your market, that won't apply in that case because they don't have the liberty to be so picky. After 6 months advertising at that $3K a month budget, they should be at 75% the range, high range. And I know this because I've ran hundreds of Google Ads campaigns, by the way. So this isn't just me picking this out of my behind. So in other words, if the low end of the range that Google's telling you for a keyword is $1 per click, and the high end of the range is $10, by the 6 month mark for that keyword, they're likely going to be paying $7.50. So it's 75% of the distance between the low and the high, if that makes sense. I didn't know how else to word that, but that's essentially what I'm trying to convey here. After 12 months, your competitor is going to be paying in the middle of the low and the high. After 24 months, it's going to be 25% between the low and the high. And after 48 months, it's going to be at the low range itself. It takes a very long time for Google's system to give you full credit for how good your ads run, how good your landing pages run in a competitive market. Now, 2 things will obviously affect this. If they're spending more than $3K a month budget, it'll cut the time down. And if there's just you and that other competitor, it'll also cut this time down. If you, instead of spending a $3K a month budget, they're spending 6, instead of taking 48 months to get to the low end range, it'll take 24 months. Instead of spending 6K a month, they're spending 12K a month. Instead of taking 48 months, it'll take 12 months to get to the low end of the range. See what I'm saying here? And for that matter, of course, people usually spend more over time. They don't spend a lot at the beginning, but SpyFu and SEMrush is going to tell you an estimate of what they're paying. So you can see if it's going to be 24 months or 48 months to hit the low end of the range itself, of which I have to tell you though, that at least with SpyFu, which is the one that I primarily use at our firm, not SEMrush. And the reason for that is it's just my preference. Not to say SEMrush is bad necessarily, but it undercounts or underestimates the ad spend mostly. And I know that because I could put our own clients' websites in there and I routinely see it undercounting across the board. The typical undercounting that it does is about 2/3, sorry. So if SpyFu says the guy spends $2,000 a month, he probably spends 6. If it says he spends 6, he probably spends 18 a month. Okay, so whatever it says, take it times 3. And then if, whatever you find there, multiply, obviously you'll just have to apply a differential to what I said. So if instead of spending 3K a month, he's spending 12, well, it's not going to take 48 months to hit to the low end of the range. It's going to take 12 months, like I said before, right? Ultimately, if it's just you and the competitor, and you want to know how much that affects this timeline or this time scale, so to say, what you can factor in there is, instead of it taking 48 months to get to the low end of the range, you could automatically cut that into 12 months to 24 months, somewhere in there. So it's going to cut off 2/3 of the time, basically, if you will. So if there's just almost no competition and they're spending $10K a month, you reasonably can hit low end of the range in 3 to 6 months already. Got that? So those are your main factors that will dictate what your competitor's paying per click based upon their spend, based upon the competition in your market. The number, that is the number, not the sophistication so much as the number of competitors in your market itself, because they're going to push down your cost per click sooner with less competitors, if you will. It'll go down faster. Whereas they're going to want to see more data when there's more competitors to pick from, because they can be more picky. All right. For that matter, knowing what your competitor's paying per click to decide what you're paying per click, it's irrelevant in that what they're paying per click is not what you got to pay per click for the same amount of traction as they got. And for that matter, you are not going to want to pay what they're paying per click anyway, because after advertising for a period of time, are going to be able to weed out some of the traffic they found didn't convert. So they're going to be willing to pay more per click over time. So because of this, what you should mainly be focused on, other than looking at what I just gave you as a secondary data point, you should be looking to identify your own metrics. Figure out how many leads you typically need to make a sale. To make a sale, and what your average revenue per sale is going to be, and what your overhead is to deliver whatever you're delivering, and mathematically calculate what you could pay for a lead to be profitable. Then what you pay per click or what your bid is isn't really relevant, as is, are you getting the cost per lead that you want? Now you can use what I told you here ultimately about this time scale and what you're going to have to pay per click just to get your ads initially moving in the search results initially. You have to pay what you have to pay to get shown, play Google's game, just so that you can get to the cost per click that's going to be profitable at the end of the day, and which will deliver the cost per lead that you need to be profitable at the end of the day, or the ROI or ROAS that you need at the end of the day. And I've talked about many times on this channel about how it is ultimately a process and an investment. You're going to start out advertising what you can afford to lose, not expecting your ads to make money at all right away. But the best case is assuming the worst case scenario, that is, it's not going to work and be profitable for a year in the future. So you aren't going to get disappointed, because once it gets profitable, it only gets more profitable, but it could be quite a while before it is profitable. And then you know your numbers up front. You know you need to have, let's say, $3 in sales for every dollar in ad spend that you spend to cover your overhead and deliver your product or service. Then it's just a matter of taking your starting budget, which you know you can afford to lose for the foreseeable future, and optimizing that budget until it finally gets a 3-to-1 return on your ad spend. Okay? And because you're going to be paying way high cost per click at the beginning just to get going, and you just got to play the game to get the cost per click down. And if you don't get the cost per click down to what your competitors are paying, well, you're not going to make what your competitors are making. Got it? For that matter, if you want somebody to, set up your ads and your landing pages so that this process happens quicker, because as a general also side disclaimer here, this time scale also assumes that you have a landing page and ad combination that's in the top 20 percentile in your niche market, bidding on the keywords you want to bid on. If it's worse, you can expect this time range to not apply, because Google's not going to lower your cost per click down to the low end of the range if you are not there in that 20th percentile. If you're in the 1 percentile, then ultimately this is going to happen faster. So instead of it taking 48 months, it's going to take 12 to 24 months. Okay? More so probably 18 months. So that's also a factor as well. I mean, that's a variable. So if you want to be able to speed up the process to where Google gets your cost per click down enough to where you have the cost per lead ROI that you need to be profitable, well, the easiest way to do that is just to make your ad and landing pages better. That is, get a higher click-through rate on your ad and a higher conversion rate on your landing page, of which is easy for somebody who already has done this 1,000 times, and they already know what users are looking for on Google Ads and can deliver it. of which that's exactly what I'm doing here. I've written thousands of Google ads. We've put together hundreds of Google landing pages. We know exactly what we're doing here in reference to doing those two things. And, I've continuously been doing it for over a decade. So for that matter, if you just, instead of it taking 48 months to get to the low end of the range where where you're profitable, you wanted to take 18 months, you hire us and you're going to have it. And we do not charge our clients management fees until we can get them a certain minimum lift in the profitability up front or a certain benchmark with the results up front. We're the only agency, by the way, doing that. If you're interested in that, reach out to me at guaranteedppc.com. Also have on offer ad templates. If you're in a niche market that we've been in before, we can tell you the winning ads, landing pages, campaign templates that work for your niche market. You can copy paste those into your ad account and get the same results we were with none of the work, money, and hassle it took for us to figure out how to get those results. So, but when we're talking about lowering your cost per click quickly, that'll do it faster than anything because we've already split tested and perfected what works in your market already. If you have any one-off questions about anything ultimately that I'm talking about here or in general, you can always leave me a comment below. To do that, I always get back to everybody who comments on this channel, or you can set up a private call with me and I'll go through anything that you want and let you know what you're doing. Is it likely to work or not work, or what, how to dig yourself out of the hole you're in. I do these calls with people all the time. So you can reach out to me at guaranteedppc.com as well for that as well. So with that said, ultimately here, given everything else, to go and in summary, to know your competitors' cost per click, what they're paying, you got to look at SEMrush or SpyFu. You got to look at what they're spending, and then you have to look how long they've been advertising. And with that, you got to look at the Google Keyword Planner, type in the keywords that they're showing up for that SpyFu or SEMrush shows. And depending on how long they've been advertising, you can expect the corresponding cost per click that Google Keyword Planner spits out accordingly. If you think that their landing page and ad is not in the 20 percentile, then you will add extra time to this, or just assume that the cost per click's never going to go down. So if it's in the middle of the pack, it's going to go down, but not all the way to the low end of the range. It's going to go down to about half of the low range, and factor that in as well, which, by the way, if you don't know if a competitor's landing page or ads in the 20 percentile, 50 percentile top, I could easily identify that for you, and all you got to do is just ask me. You can leave me a comment below and I'll tell you. I'm looking at their stuff, if you can screenshot their ad, their landing page. But so if you don't know if they're in the 20 percentile or not, you ask somebody who knows, that really, really knows their stuff, which I do, and I can tell you that. If they're in the 20 percentile, then this tells you what they're likely paying at this particular stage of where they're at right now, based upon them spending what they're spending. Okay? So that's the easiest / best way to tell what your competitors are likely spending on their ads right now at the stage they're at in their journey with their setup that they have. If you want other tips like this, by the way, that'll help you make money with your ads, and I've got actual strategies you can apply to your account that I'm releasing all the time. You want to watch and subscribe to this channel because I'm going through these all the time of the stuff that I find that works. I'm right away sharing it on this channel. You should subscribe to this channel as a result if you're serious about making money with ads. So go ahead and do that. Take a minute to do that. You won't be disappointed in the content I put out and what it can do for you. I also have a great blog on my site at guaranteedppc.com/blog. The blog has step-by-step information on how to make money with ads. I highly encourage you to check that out as well. There's a bunch of screenshots and so forth in my tutorials that I have on my blog. You'll like that style of content and it's a great supplement to what I have on this channel. As a side, if you want to talk to other people that are watching this channel that are doing these strategies, you can find the link to the Discord group where we're talking about amongst each other here the strategies that I go over in this channel and in general. There's a Discord group there where I'm in there. I'm also in the Discord group and answering questions. You can ask other guys that follow this channel questions. I also have a PPC course in there that I've offered for free just as a thank you for joining the group. So highly encourage you to check that out as well. If you have great products and services to sell, but you don't know how to advertise and you want the best advertising, frankly, the best way to do that and fix that problem is just to partner with somebody who already knows how to advertise, because good products and services are rare. We're specifically looking to invest in companies just like that, where and like we've done in the recent past, where we'll come in and invest ad spend and agency services to get a client's sales growing in exchange for a kickback on on some percentage of sales moving forward, gross sales in the company, and that is an increase in sales. So if they're doing $1 million a year, we take them to 10, we'll take 4% of the difference of the extra $9 million a year, and then that's our compensation for running your ads, giving you a kickstart in ad spend at the beginning to get going. We're looking for more companies to invest in like this because the ones that we've invested in are highly lucrative for us already, and we're looking to diversify our income as well into other companies like this that we're investing in and run the ads for them. So if you're interested in this opportunity, also reach out to me at guaranteedppc.com so I can talk to you about it. With that said, I'm going to wrap everything up with that. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. If you want to see another video, click here. It is one of my best ones.